Hello everyone, so I'm gonna show you today how you can install and set up the free and open source solution called Engineered Monitoring Platform, short EMP. And yeah, let's get into it. So first we go to GitHub and we have to find the repository of EMP. So you can just go here and search for Engineered Monitoring Platform. I will put a link down in the description so you don't have to type that much. So we are here on the repository, and on the right side here you find the different releases that you can download. So you just click on the latest one here. You have an installation guide and you also have a Docker image that you can use. And but I will just show you how it works with the regular zip file. So you just download this one here. I just put this into a temp folder. Let's say test. Let me open this folder and we see that we have just the folder structure here in the zip file. So we are gonna extract this to a folder called EMP server, and we extract that whole thing. And here is our folder containing the whole binaries that are used to run this tool. Now we have a .bat file and we have a shell file to run this on either Windows or Linux. Now one thing that you have to know, you have to install as well JDK or Java 17. So for that I suggest you're going and download the Eclipse Java 17. If I can type it. So so we have here Adoptium Temurin. So here you can download and install Java. I have already installed it, so I won't go through this anymore. You can also use other Java builds. I just tested it with Eclipse and that works fine. Good, so let's go back to our folder here. So we can double click this here to start this application. Now I get here a null pointer exception. That's now a good thing as a demonstration. So this basically shows me that it couldn't start the application because it couldn't bind to the port. Reason is I have still running another instance here. So let's close this one and try this again. Good, so now this whole thing is running. We get a started message here. And basically it will just create a database in the data store folder for you. And all the data will be put inside here. Good, so now the next thing that we have to do is we open a local host at port 8888. So this is basically the default port. We can log in with admin. I hope we can log in with admin. Oh, I selected here, I'm sorry. Let me unselect this, good. Good, so now we are logged in. So basically this is the UI of EMP, and so to set up EMP for your needs, you have here a configuration section, and you have feature management, user management, context settings, and some system analytics. So this is all your admin things that you need. So the first thing that I would do is go to feature management, because here you have some features that are disabled. So by default, because you might need them, you might not need them, you just enable them here, and you do a restart. So let's close this and go back here and do a start again. Good, so we are started again. This time I will not click inside here, else I'm blocked again. So we can refresh this and everything is activated. Good, so under configuration, here we have various configurations, like what is the session timeout, max ages, and so on. So session timeout in seconds, it's currently on 36,000 seconds, so basically 10 hours. I leave that up to you, what kind of things that you want to set here. You have settings for the whole query language, so for the whole query engine, like what kind of limits you want to have on the data sources, so you don't do overload your sources like databases and so on, and also your own EMP server. And you can also set the limit for how many queries you want to have in the history. There are some performance settings. There is a cache file setting. This normally is on. When you are developing, you can turn this off, what makes it a little bit easier to reload your changes. And there's also an integrated CPU sampling to analyze your application. So we have a password policy. By default, it's enabled, and the only thing that is enabled here is the minimum length. What says you have to at least have 4 characters. If you want to have force more complex passwords, you can set here special characters, special or number, lowercase checks, and so on. You can always hover here to get more details about what the setting is actually controlling. You have here a look and feel setting. You have a code theme, how your code should be displayed, like what kind of style you will use. The default language, it's on English because most other languages are actually not supported, except there is a little bit of German currently in the application, but else most is English, and this would also be like the fallback language. You can put your own logo up here. You can put here a menu title that will show up here. For example, when I do that here, let's say EMP, save. I have to reload this. So this menu is cached. So let me open an incognito window. Now you see here we have EMP. You can, for example, as well, you can put your company name on it, or if you have multiple instances, you can put here what the instance is for. Good. So you can also put the menu title into the tab. So that will come up here. So now you see the menu title, like the same that we get here, is also in the tab above here. And you can change the overall theme. there are light themes and dark themes. I suggest you're using a dark theme because the whole development is done in dark themes. So it's better to use one of those than using a light theme, because we do not test the light themes at all. They are more like for if you have some kind of UAT environment or so. For example, we also have here a dark blue that we are using often for our UATs, like test environments. And yeah, but I would just recommend keeping it on the default one. Good, so we have entity attributes value. That's basically a data store where you can define entities, attributes, and values, and there are as well statistics for it, where we can set age out times and age out intervals. So, and the maximum granularity of the statistics. Then we have database settings. So here we can set a folder where the backup of the database should be stored. I would recommend here to use like some kind of network drive or so. And here you can define here the interval in days, when it is created, and when is the start time of the creation. So it will just add 7 days every day on this start time. Here we can also define additional database drivers. This is needed in case you want to load other databases except for the ones that are already integrated into EMP. So that means basically you currently have what is integrated is Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, and H2 database, which is used by EMP itself. And if you need some kind of other database connections, what you can do is you just throw the database driver inside here, the JDBC driver, restart your application, and then you put here the name of the driver. This is also documented in the manual. So when you go here, this is the button for the manual. You can find this under databases, I think. Exactly, for any other database, JDBC driver is available. Copy the driver jar file, extension here. Restart the application to use the driver. For the database switcher can be used, at least one database environment of the respective database type has to be defined by a user with admin permissions. The environments can be added under admin context settings. So let's go back. Good, so this is the database, and here we have some dashboard settings. You can turn on that versions are automatically created. So databases have a possibility to create versions. Let me just show you that, so you get kind of a reality what it is. So let's make a test dashboard. And now we have a dashboard here. We can open here the settings. Then we have here the version tab. And here we have the versioning. So when we have auto versioning on, these versions will be created by itself whenever the dashboard was not changed for a specific period. By default, that's 24 hours. But we can also create here our new version, like our own versions as backups. Just if there is some kind of change and we want to revert it, here would be the possibility to switch to that specific version that we created as a backup. Good. So I think that's more or less everything for this configuration section. Now, the next thing would be the context settings. Here you can add different things like some single sign-on connectors and all the connections to databases and to other data sources that are supported by EMP. And I won't go into too much detail here. Basically, you just choose one of those, fill out whatever information is needed, click add, and then it will show up in the list. Here you get also details about what data is needed. And yeah, good. So another thing to set up EMP, you can create users here. So you can create users like fix in the database. So test user, password is as well test user, and the status is active and it's not a foreign user. So foreign users are users that basically are coming from another source like LDAP, an Active Directory, or a single sign-on. So we create this user and we have our test user here. Now here we can go and give this user some roles. So by default we have 3 roles: the admin, super user, and user. And whenever a new user is created, he automatically gets assigned the role user. So this is useful to set up and give all the permissions by default that you want to give to a user by default. So in the roles tab, we can click on one of the roles to edit it. And here we can basically go and say, okay, good, these are these permissions the user has. So for example, we can give him dashboard access, and we also can give him, let's say, let's see what other things we can give him. For example, user for querying. Good. So here we also have a list of all the users that are in this group that can be useful to make a CSV export with all the users and their emails in case you want to send emails to a specific group and so on. We can create another role, test, create role. So you have another role here. Good, so the next thing, we have groups. Groups are basically in the database in the same table as roles and have the same capabilities, except that roles cannot be selected by a user. Groups can be selected by a user and can also be created when we allow it by a user. So we go here and say my group, and we can define some editor, for example our test user, and we can add members. Let's say the admin is a member, we create a group. Good. So we have our group, and that can be used for sharing with people. So if you go back to, just for an example, you see what this is all about. So we have our test dashboard. We go here, and here we have share with users. So we can use directly, we can select our test user, or we can share with groups. So we can we can select this group here, and what makes it easier to have 20 dashboards shared with all the users that need access to this specific dashboard. Okay. And basically the users, if you allow them with the permissions, they can also create groups, their own groups here, and they will be able to then share with their own list of users. Okay. And yeah, as you see, so we have like here the roles, that is, for example, administrators. When we go to dashboards again and try to share with one of the roles, let's say admin, this will not show up here because they are not intended for sharing. They are just intended only for granting permissions. So we have users, and users have roles and can be in groups. We have the whole list here of permissions that users can have. And we have here as well an audit tab that is used to basically create an audit table of all the roles and access and permissions that a user has. So we have here the user admin, we have here the user test user, and you can also here basically click create print view, and you get this whole table of all the things somebody can access and use. This you can also do for a single user by going here, and here you have this audit button here, so you can click and get the details for this specific user here. Okay, so that's the basic setup. One small, like in the UI, that's the basic setup in the UI. So we have as well system analytics. So in case you have to analyze something, you can, for example, here go and change the log configuration on the fly. So you can change here the log level of anything to a finer level, for example, finest, and reload it afterwards when you're done to not spam your log files in productive environments and so on. And the others, I let you look into it, what it is about. Yeah. Now, one more thing we have here on the root folder of EMP, we have here a config file. So you have here the login properties that default login properties that you can change. And we have here the core framework properties. So the core framework is basically the framework on which EMP is built on. And here you find different kind of settings that you should adjust as soon as you have the data for that. So the application URL, in this case it's localhost. As you see, this will be needed for creating links in emails and stuff like that. So you should update this to get proper links. You have here reset admin password. So if you ever forget the admin password, you can basically change this one to true, and that will set the admin password back to admin. And then you just set it back to false and change the password again, and all is good. You can also delete this here just to obfuscate it a little bit more and not give people some wrong ideas or some hacker a hint to how to get admin access. Okay, so we have here some HTTP settings. You can enable and disable HTTP and HTTPS here, and you can also say if you have calls to HTTP that it gets forwarded to directly to HTTPS. You can define your key store here and proxy settings and authentication settings. So basically here you can set here an Active Directory by setting here an LDAP, and that will allow you to fetch your users using from an Active Directory, but as well using at the same time users that you created directly in the database. That can be useful if you just set up a technical user or something like that. And all the different settings that are needed for these various authentication settings. Exactly, and here you have the authentication query that you have to set up here. We have performance settings. In this case, we only have for jobs. So we can run jobs in the background for EMP. And this will allow you to set the amount of parallel jobs in maximum. You can set up mailing settings and your SMTP server. And you can also set some database settings here, like port, and you can change the username password here to make it more secure. And that's basically the other settings that you cannot change in the UI. Okay, so I would say that's it for all the configuration stuff. I hope it was useful, and yeah, I hope you have everything that you need to set up your EMP tool in your environment.